When you're denied freedom, you're denied loving yourself, right? You're denied to see yourself, because the denial of freedom is the denial of like you're not enough. You don't have potential possibilities. Like you do not know how to see yourself, and so that denial also means that you cannot love someone who looks like you. Right? Because if you cannot love yourself, how then do you love someone who looks like you? So our history of searching for freedom is, also searching for love. I mean, we have a history where black women are portrayed or stereotyped as angry, and that we are angry. And that for me is like false, because when we are not allowed to be angry, it means that like we are being denied freedom, and we are being denied freedom because people do not want to deal with what has been done on black women's bodies. My name is Khanyisile Mbongwa. I come from the southern part of Africa, specifically KwaZulu-Natal. That's where my family is from, but I, was raised in Cape Town, cosmopolitan city. I am a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sibling, I'm a friend, I'm a lover. This exhibition is dedicated to my child, who is 19 months old, who has inspired and reminded me about love and freedom, who, because of them, my preoccupation with love has been renewed. Like I am very interested in our ethics of love. And how do we love? Do we even have ethics of love? So I mean, as the title suggests, like history's footnote, I'm interested in if you think of it like very academic and text in textual form, like a footnote, it's something not really inserted in the main text. It's something left behind that sometimes can disrupt the text, can open it wide open, or can lead you into another pathway, like outside of this like main canon of a text. So that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in how a footnote disrupts, opens up, like it's like a volcano, erupting our whole idea or concept of the histories that we hold in these books, but also like that, these works, these artists here are also dealing with histories that cannot be in books, because some of these histories cannot be in books. As you can see, the works here are dealing in different materialities. Like we have very soft work downstairs by Anna, that is made out of like, straw grass that is, from Brazil, and leaves that are from here. Like very soft, very soft work. And then we have Lungiswa Gqunta's work, who is, very hard and textile. Like it talks about mountains and how mountains are archives of stories and traditions and cultures that also we have no way of knowing. But those who dwell those spaces, who are reaching for the ancestral and the celestial, it comes to them in dream form, in vision form, in sound form. We have Nicholas Galanin, who talks specifically about that, like language, when our language is being taken away from us, like our mother tongue, that care is being taken away, like care. And for me, that was such an interesting moment to read and listen to their work of how they use their language to extend love and care and respect, and groundedness to their child, like speaking your mother tongue to your child resonates on a very different level than, a colonial language. And then, I'm sitting in Kemang Lehulere's work, who comes, and the title of the work, a beautiful title, like, you know, where did the sky go, is something that his son said to him while riding a train, an underground train, and then suddenly it goes underground and everything is pitch black, and his son is baffled, like, what's happening? Where did the sky go? But that, like, that very simple line also talks about, like, you know, like something being completely blackened out and darkened, and then the anxiety that comes with, you know, the untold narratives. For me, it brings that. We have Felipe Castelblanco, who works with water as a territory that is fluid, that can't be contained. You know, how do you contain narratives of indigenous people native to a land? You know, where you have no interest in their language. When you have no interest in someone's language, you have no interest in them, in their way of being, and how they put themselves together, in their culture and their tradition. You know, so when Felipe is looking at water as this fluid form that can't be contained, for me, that's emancipatory, right? That there is a possibility to emancipate ourselves beyond the systems that know how to kill us. You know, these institutions that know how to kill us. You look at Eric's work that cuts through the entire museum, you know, that creates like a dance, a spiritual dance through the walls of this museum, and asking you to come, inviting you over and over, like, to move through the space in a specific way that is outside. But then there's this moment you're confronted by this neon orange color that falls on you. You need to hold it, and he's placed hands for you there, you know, to hold this, you know, this wall, this collapse, you know, until you move through in the spaces and move through the other works until you get back to his space where you're confronted with a small image. And then you need to decide if you're going to surrender yourself or you're going to recede. I look at an artist like Géraldine Tobe, who works with smoke to make work, but here has done like a complete shift, you know, where they've created this room, they've made this chair, and then are using virtual reality. But in that, you see their work again, like their actual practice that they've known for. For me, it's also that, like the play, you know, like all these artists are playing, but play is political, right? You know, because so many of us have been denied playing. So many kids right now do not have the right to play because the conditions and the circumstances they exist in do not allow or create an environment of play. So like for me, curating is also that, like, or creating, or the artistic form is like to play. When I think of Euridice Gala's work that works with archives and memory and the fragility of that, and how our bodies as Black people are captured, and then but, you know, captured as imprisoned in these archives, you know, that see us only in a specific way, but we don't really, like, these archives kill us all the time when we engage with them, that fragility. And I mean, as someone who used to create, who used to make work, I don't even know how she got there, you know? And like, for me, this is the interesting thing about curating, like, that we have to be honest enough that sometimes we are astounded by how the curiosity of the artist leads them to specific places that maybe as curators we could have not gone to because we wouldn't know how, right? Like, and for me, curating is also that, like a long conversation I'm having with the people that I invite. And my practice as a curator is informed by cure and care. Those are the ethics which I move through. How do I care for the artist or the people I invite? How do I care for their work? How do I consistently find ways of being sensitive to the narratives that the artists bring? Because I think sensitivity is a practice, it's something that you consistently have to work on, to have the kind of sensibilities and sensitivity to hold people's work. So care for me is quite an important thing, also because I am very much aware of who I am in the world. I'm a Black queer woman who comes from Africa and how the world is designed to kill people like me. And so how do I enact care in a world that is designed and functions, to kill me and people who look like me? And so care is a very important aspect of what I do, and to figure out how do I do that. Sometimes I fail, it's an epic failure because maybe there's something that I didn't understand in the way that the artists that I've invited needed care. So one has to listen, I have to consistently listen to the artist, listen to what they come with, because as someone who's also a Sangoma, which is an indigenous spiritual healer, I'm very much aware that my practice is connected to that. And so when I see anyone or invite anyone, I'm not just inviting them, but I'm also inviting their ancestral lineage. And so care is also in that aspect, how do I care for all of you, those who came before you, you as the person in front of me, and those whom you are preparing for. On the other hand, my curatorial practice concerns itself with cure. How do I, as a curator, instigate spaces for a curing to happen, right? How do the ideas that I have cater for that? How do they hold space for a curing to happen? Because there's a need for us to deal with our trauma, to deal with our burdens, to deal with our shadows that are a result of generational trauma, to deal with what we inherit. But also cure because we are not just pain and suffering, we are not just bodies made out of violence, and the colonial project, the enslavement project, and oppressive projects want us to believe that we are only this thing, bodies of violence, discarded bodies, dismembered bodies, dislocated bodies. And so for me, cure is not just to talk to that, but to also talk to how we are beautiful and magnificent and glorious and celestial and ancestral. But for us also to be able to access that, we need to know where the wounds are in our bodies so that we can be able to see where the light is, where the joy is, where the happiness is, So my practice as a curator is informed by care and cure. I had this amazing, beautiful conversation with one of my spiritual mothers who was talking to me about, really asking me can those who are not free create a free world? And this startled me, and it had to do with my child, and I was like, what? Can we not, are we, those who have been oppressed, can we not imagine a free world? Have we been stuck in protest and fighting, and that we don't have the possibility to imagine and create a free world? So on one hand, I agreed with her. I do completely, because I understand, so many people have died in pursuit of freedom, and nothing changed, Nothing changed. We are having the same conversations we were having in the 60s and the 70s we are having now. And I'm talking about people who have a history of being oppressed and colonized and enslaved. We are having the very same conversations. I'm speaking to you in English. It's a colonial language. My tongue every day has to be in revolt and resistance and protest to be able to speak this language. Mm-hmm. But also I can decide, through having cared for myself, to use the language as a way to emancipate myself. Mm-hmm. So this exhibition is also about that, how do we find practices of emancipation? How do these artists, arrive to that? How are their practices emancipatory to our current space? So yeah.